the most legendary classes offered at Harvard University and why everybody wants to take them. When most people think about Harvard, they think about the Nobel Prize winners, the presidents, the Supreme Court justices, but what they don't think about is that this all often started in the classroom. And some of these Harvard classes became legendary and are known very well throughout academia. Not because they're easy, but often because they're a requirement and they're taught by very interesting professors. So I was very lucky enough to take some of these classes myself. If you're looking for the most comprehensive support to get into your dream school, then I invite you to book a call with me and my team at ivyleagueconsults.com. Here we'll help you secure publications with world-leading professors and mentor you to getting into your dream school. So class number 1 is called Justice, and it's taught by Professor Michael Sandel. So if Harvard had one celebrity professor, it would be Michael Sandel. And Justice is a course that isn't famous because of philosophy, but it's famous because of what Sandel does during these lectures. Every lecture is virtually a life experiment. He presents these very interesting moral dilemmas. So for example, some might be like, should you sacrifice one life to save 5? Can money really buy anything? Can markets solve every problem? And then he'll start calling on students and everybody will have a different answer. Nobody gives the right answer, but everybody has to defend their own reasoning. And so the remarkable thing about Justice is that students walk into every room believing that they know exactly what they think, and they come out leaving very surprised because every student will give a new nuanced opinion and they'll often build on themselves. And this is one of the very first lectures that actually exploded online because of these very interesting moral dilemmas that Professor Sandel presents. Okay, class number 2, Economics 10A, which is a class that I personally took myself at Harvard, and it was taught by Jason Furman and David Laipson. So this class is what really made me realize that Harvard was different. It was in fact the first class that I ever took at Harvard and the first lecture hall that I walked in 2021 when I first started my path at Harvard. So Economics 10A is one of the foundational courses taught at Harvard, but its content isn't what made it unforgettable, but rather it's the professors. So Jason Furman was the chairman of President Obama's Council of Economic Advisors. And so he was literally advising Obama during his 2 terms of presidency at the White House. David Laipson is one of the world-leading economists in behavioral economics and has published countless of papers in this field. And as a freshman, I found myself learning economics directly from both of these experts. And so I would make a conscious effort to go to both of their office hours and sit through many discussions with both Professor Laipson and Professor Furman. But we covered very interesting fundamental topics: supply and demand, market equilibrium, dynamic optimization, behavioral economics, and then we had several sections at the end about moral hazard and adverse selection. Okay, so class number 3 was Introduction to African American History, taught by Henry Louis Gates Jr. And so Henry Louis Gates Jr. is very famous for PBS. He hosts a show called Finding Your Roots, where he interviews countless of celebrities ranging from famous actors, Nobel Prize winners, and notable celebrities, and then tries to understand their family roots. Many Americans will know him from the PBS show Finding Your Roots. And so Gates had a very fantastic course. He talked a lot about African American history, literature, culture, and identity. And few professors have had the ability to shape public understanding of these subjects more than he has. At Harvard, students will talk about many famous scientists or economists, but Gates occupies a very different category. He's one of the rare humanities professors that influence extends far beyond university, and his class hosts many notable guests as well. Class number 4, CS50 with David Milan. This is additionally one of the most famous courses at Harvard, and that's because it is the most famous computer science course on earth. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg did not take this course, but he gave a guest lecture for this course at Harvard on December 5th, 2005. CS50, just to give a little bit more background, is Harvard's flagship introduction course to computer science. And so in the first week, it covers things like computational thinking. So you look at algorithms, you'll look at efficiency, problem solving, and each week, each students will have to complete a problem set. You'll learn many of the different things in that, so including data structures, arrays, algorithms, and you'll learn all the foundational things for C programming. But the course is very fantastic because of these really famous problem sets. Historically, at the very end of the course, you'll have to do a final project. And so what we've seen from students in the past is they've built very interesting final projects, including spell checkers, implementing algorithms that can search lost videos, creating games, building really interesting web applications. And so these assignments are very fun, and students will have very creative applications to their final assignment for CS50. I think through these classes, not only do you have legendary professors, but you also have access to so many people that are being influenced by these very same ideas in the same classroom. And so that access to those conversations happening at these very interesting levels allows you to think about new ways to build on these ideas. And so one week you're hearing from an economist that's formerly worked at the White House and was advising Obama, the next listening to a future Nobel Prize winner. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next video.